Hello and happy Wednesday here at radicallyrational.com. We appreciate the fact you're here. You know, a big part of me really wanted to start today's video and end today's video and maybe leave today's video with, how about them Astros? Because how about them Astros? That's great. But I can't do it. There is a wonderful 10-minute anthem off Chicago's second album called It Better End Soon. And the refrain is, can't take it no more. That's kind of where I am right now, along with other rational people. So let me cut to the chase. Let me give you the lead thesis sentence, and we'll go from there. What we are seeing parading as Republicanism is not Republicanism. In fact, it is the antithesis of Republicanism. What we're seeing in particular masquerading as conservatism is the polar opposite of conservatism. What we're actually seeing is assholeism. Assholeism for the sake, for the sole purpose of being an asshole. I don't owe you this, but just to bolster this argument, I am at least 453 years old. And you can count the rings around me. And over the course of my voting life, I have voted for at least as many Republican presidential candidates as I have Democrats, because I am fiercely politically independent and I'm not tribal. The Republican Party has a proud place in American history. Yeah, it's had its warts, but it's been occasionally magnificent as well. And the reason is because it embraced fact. It was an intellectual movement. It was a movement that is founded in calm, objective analysis. Classic conservatism is a magnificent philosophy. Conservatism has nothing to do with what's going on right now, because conservatism has been based in a willingness to face facts, even facts you don't like, even facts you find inconvenient. We have people calling themselves Republicans. We have people calling themselves conservatives who are completely untethered from facts and in fact have embraced and endorsed lying. If you're not lying, you're not trying. So lying is not just tolerated among these people, it is required. And these are not minor lies, they're foundational lies. Let's start with the biggest one. Donald Trump lost decisively. It wasn't close. Okay, and we have elections that are based on math. We keep hearing these calls that there was fraud. Okay, all these many months later, and we're almost now a year removed from that election, there is zero evidence of anything that would have impacted that. It's been reviewed, re-reviewed, re-reviewed. It's been in front of every court in the country, and there's just no there there. And still he and they persist. And if anything, they're ramping it up again. And for no other reason than to try to convince you that if they don't like the results of the next election, that see, that was a fraud too. Do you not realize how foundationally damaging that is to this country? That's not republicanism. That's not conservatism. That's assholeism. Turning a blind eye to January 6th, one of, if not the darkest day in American history in terms of the way our basic foundational institutions were threatened. You tell me it didn't happen? And I'm actually hearing people say that. And as recently as 2 days ago, I saw somebody on television saying it was a peaceful protest. I don't know, have you watched the, 95 hours of video? And you have people saluting and pledging allegiance to a flag that was leading and symbolizing that armed insurrection, because that's what it was. And this attempted coup against the government of the United States because that's what it was. That's not republicanism. That's not conservatism. That's assholeism. You want a real conservative? You want a real Republican? The late General Colin Powell. And here he is, one day after his death, being called a rhino by the rogue former president of the United States. See, this is what they do. Light is dark, dark is light. Deny that of which you are clearly guilty. The real rhinos, the real Republicans in name only, are exactly the people who go around calling others rhinos. This is not republicanism. This is not conservatism. This is assholeism. A complete rejection of science, a complete rejection of math, a complete rejection of the intellectual qualities that have made America America. Vaccine deniers and the not Republicans, the not conservatives, the assholes who would tell you that the death of an 84-year-old man with 2 absolutely terminal diseases is proof that the vaccination and the vaccine doesn't work. How low can you go? That would win any limbo contest in history. And it makes no sense. And here's what really is disturbing about this. The anti-vaxxers, the anti-maskers, they don't want the vaccine to work. They would get down on their knees and thank their faux God if it didn't work. Because this is purely political to them. This is simply tribal. All they know, because their IQ can't handle anything other than this, is that people that they perceive as their political enemies, whether they are or not, are supporting this science. Therefore, for no other reason than just political partisanship, they are duty bound to fight them. Okay? There are people that if they came out in support of wood flooring, would start an anti-wood flooring movement. It has nothing to do with anything other than sticking it to somebody you want it stuck to. It makes no sense. It's not rational. We have a word for people who think like that. Children. And historically, conservatism is not childish. Republicanism is not childish. This is assholeism. You have a Republican Party that embraces the likes of Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz, and then excommunicates a true conservative, a true Republican, who seeks only the truth, primarily because the truth is right there in front of our eyes, in Liz Cheney. That's not republicanism. That's not conservatism. That's assholeism. The vaccine, you want facts, here are facts. Vaccinated people are 6 times less likely to become infected with COVID, and they are 11 times less likely to die. This is about as open and shut numerically as any issue has ever been, and still they persist because this is not healthy skepticism. This is wanting America to fail. This is wanting people to die because this is purely political. This is not a political issue. This is a health issue. And this redefined notion of personal freedom, you know, you pay homage to the World War II generation, and I do too, because it's the greatest generation, not only in American, but in human history. You people who are calling yourselves Republicans, calling yourselves conservatives, calling yourselves true American patriots, the World War II generation, and there are almost none of them left, would want to bust you in the mouth. Freedom has nothing to do with abdicating personal responsibility. Freedom has nothing to do with deciding that you have no accountability and that you have no obligation to your fellow man and fellow American. What do you think made the World War II generation the World War II generation? And this idea that you can't stick a piece of cloth across your yapping mouth because of freedom and its coercion, you are insulting the very concept of American freedom. If there is a basic tenet here, it's that everybody's freedom, your freedom, my freedom, ends where somebody else's nose or lungs begin. Your freedom ends at the instant you're endangering somebody else. COVID's a classic example. You cannot make a cogent argument that there is a personal freedom issue here, because there isn't. Well, it's forced coercion. Yeah, I asked you to stop at a red light too. I asked you not to punch a guy out in the bar too. I asked you to fasten your seatbelt too. I asked you not to throw up on my shoes too. I asked you not to smoke because you're making me smoke. I asked you to get a vaccine because you've needed vaccines to go to public school for the last 70 years. This is not republicanism. This is not conservatism. This is assholeism. Regarding science, here's what's happening right now. Again, it's all about sticking it to somebody. Hey, a healthy skepticism, that's a good thing on a case-by-case basis. Sure, I encourage that. But we now have a cadre of people who call themselves Republicans, who call themselves conservatives, who will automatically, out of hand, reject anything that is tied to science. It's not skepticism, it is completely obstinate rejection for no other reason than simple tribalism. Here's a fact. We do have devastating climate change, and that is impacted by human activity, and that's not up for grabs anymore. And if you don't believe that, I will try to remember you at Christmas when I will buy you a snorkel as the water comes up over your property, and maybe I can build you a shelter to protect you from Cat 6 hurricanes. By the way, do you know that they're now classifying Cat 6 hurricanes because 5 just don't get it done anymore. It better end soon, because I and others of reason, of intellect, people who truly love this country and the uniqueness of this country and the enlightenment and the true exceptionalism of America, they're rejecting this and they're giving it away. And I'm just not going to let that happen. This issue about critical race theory, the people who are squawking don't even know what the hell critical race theory is, but they're going to squawk anyway because they think they have to. Critical race theory is not being taught in our public schools, but that doesn't mean that there can't be a rational intellectual discussion about established historical facts. Once again, it's a distortion because they live to distort. They have no other game plan other than to distort. And why? Because they're people they want to stick it to, and as long as they get it stuck to them, they don't care about another thing. That's a suicide pact, y'all. We are radically rational, and we're going to fight this, and we're going to resist. And we're going to do it by peaceful means, and we're going to do it with our brains, not wild testosterone. What we are seeing right now has nothing to do with republicanism, and it is an insult to the proud history of the Republican Party, and it has nothing to do with conservatism, and it is an insult against a really noble philosophy. This is assholeism. Can't take it no more. It better end soon.